My Chinese girlfriend demanded 88,000 euros as a bride price. Then I reported her to the police. Hey Reddit, I'm a 29-year-old guy from Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and I'm still reeling from what just happened in my life. My girlfriend of 2 years, let's call her May, recently demanded 88,000 euros as a bride price after she found out she was pregnant. I panicked, felt trapped, and ended up reporting her to the police for what I thought might be fraud. Now she's been arrested, I've gone into hiding, and I'm wondering if I overreacted or if I did the right thing. This is a wild story, so buckle up. I need your advice on what to do next. For some background, I met May 2 years ago at a university event in Rotterdam. I'm a software developer working for a tech startup focused on sustainable energy solutions, and she's a doctoral student in environmental science from China. She was charming, intelligent, and we bonded over our love for cycling and exploring the city. Rotterdam is known for its modern architecture, and we'd often bike along the Erasmus Bridge, grab coffee in the Delfshaven area, and talk about our dreams. She told me about her life in Shanghai, her strict parents, and how she wanted to build a career in Europe. I fell hard, and we started dating seriously after a few months. Our relationship was great at first. May was passionate about her research on climate change mitigation, and I admired her dedication. We'd spend weekends visiting places like the Keukenhof Gardens in spring, marveling at the endless tulip fields or the windmills at Kinderdijk, taking in the Dutch culture I grew up with. She seemed to love it here, always saying how much she appreciated the Netherlands' focus on sustainability, like our bike-friendly cities and wind energy initiatives. We even talked about settling down one day, maybe starting a family. I'd take her to local markets in Rotterdam, where we'd buy fresh stroopwafels and cheese, laughing as she tried to pronounce Dutch words like gezellig. It felt like we were building something special, but there were always little cultural differences that popped up. For example, she'd insist on splitting the bill at restaurants, which is common here, but she'd get upset if I didn't offer to pay first. I chalked it up to her being traditional, but it was a bit confusing. Another time, she got annoyed when I didn't bring a gift to her birthday dinner, even though I'd planned a surprise weekend trip instead. In the Netherlands, we're pretty straightforward and big gestures aren't always expected, but she said in China, gifts are a sign of respect. I tried to adapt, but sometimes I felt like I was walking on eggshells, not sure what would upset her next. Things got serious about a year ago when we moved in together. We found a small apartment near the city centre, close to the Maas River, with a view of the iconic yellow cube houses. It wasn't cheap, costing us about 1,500 euros a month, but we managed with our combined incomes. I thought we were on the same page about our future. She'd often talk about her family back in China, how they expected her to marry well and provide for them. But I didn't think much of it. I figured we'd cross that bridge when we got to it. I'd introduce her to my friends at local pubs, where we'd share bitter ballen and beers, and she seemed to fit in, even if she didn't always get our dry Dutch humour. Then, in March last year, everything changed. May came to me one evening, looking pale and nervous, and said she was pregnant. I was shocked, but excited. I've always wanted to be a dad, and I thought this was our chance to build a family together. I imagined teaching our kid to ride a bike along the canals, taking them to Sinterklaas celebrations in December, and showing them the beauty of Dutch traditions. I hugged her, told her I'd be there for her, and started thinking about how we'd manage as parents. But May's reaction wasn't what I expected. Instead of being happy, she seemed stressed. She started talking about how her family would react, how they'd expect us to get married right away. I told her I wanted to marry her, but I needed time to plan, maybe after the baby was born. I'm practical, like most Dutch people, and I wanted to make sure we were financially stable first. That's when she dropped the bombshell. She said her family required a bride price, a traditional Chinese custom where the groom's family pays the bride's family before the wedding. She said they were demanding 88,000 euros. I was floored. That's a huge amount of money, more than I make in a year. My startup job pays decently, about 60,000 euros annually, but I have student loans, rent and other expenses. I told her I didn't have that kind of cash, and she got upset, saying it was non-negotiable. I tried to understand her perspective. She explained that in China, a bride price shows the groom's commitment and financial stability. The amount, 88,000 euros, was symbolic because 8 is a lucky number in Chinese culture, meaning prosperity. She said her parents needed the money to save face in their community, to show they'd raised a daughter worth that much. But I'm Dutch, and here, we don't do that. In the Netherlands, we're known for being practical, even frugal. We don't have a tradition of paying for a bride, and honestly, it felt like I was being asked to buy her. I told her I'd need to think about it, and she said I had to decide soon or her parents would disown her. The pressure was intense, and I started to feel trapped. Over the next few weeks, I did some research. I read online that bride prices in China can be controversial, often putting huge financial strain on families, especially in rural areas. Some articles said it's becoming less common in urban areas like Shanghai, where May grew up, but her family was traditional. I talked to a friend, Jeroen, who's married to a Chinese woman, and he said he paid a small bride price, about 5,000 euros, but nothing close to 88,000. He warned me that sometimes families use the bride price as a way to test the groom, but it can also be a scam, especially if the couple isn't on the same page culturally. That got me worried. What if May was exaggerating the amount? Or worse, what if this was some kind of scheme? I started noticing red flags. May became more secretive, always on the phone with her parents in Mandarin, which I don't speak. She'd get angry if I asked questions about the money, saying I didn't trust her. She even suggested I take out a loan or sell my car, a second-hand Volkswagen I'd saved years to buy to cover the cost. I felt like I was being pushed into a corner. My parents, who are typical Dutch and very practical, were horrified when I told them. We met at their house in Delft, a quaint town south of Rotterdam, and over coffee and appeltaart they laid out their concerns. My mum said it sounded like a scam, and my dad suggested I talk to a lawyer. I didn't want to escalate things that far. I still loved May, and I wanted to believe she was being honest. But the more I thought about it, the more uneasy I felt. 88,000 euros is a fortune, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I started to wonder if May was really pregnant, or if this was a way to get money out of me. I know that sounds harsh, but I'd read stories online about scams where people fake pregnancies to manipulate partners. I asked her for proof, like a doctor's note or an ultrasound, but she got defensive, saying I was accusing her of lying. That made me even more suspicious. I felt like I was going crazy, torn between my love for her and my growing doubts. I confided in my sister Lisa, who lives in Amsterdam. She came to visit me in Utrecht, where I was staying, and we talked over dinner at a canal-side restaurant. She said I needed to protect myself, that May's behavior sounded manipulative, and that I should demand more transparency. I also spoke to my best friend Peter, who I've known since primary school. We met at a pub in Rotterdam's Overreacted area, where we shared a plate of frietjes with mayo and a couple of Heinekens. Peter was blunt. He said May's demand sounded outrageous, and he'd heard of cases where international relationships led to financial scams. He urged me to be careful, saying I'd worked too hard to risk everything for someone who might not be honest. His words stuck with me, but they also made me feel guilty. I didn't want to believe May could do something like that. I kept thinking about the good times, like when we'd picnic in Krallingsbos, a park in Rotterdam, feeding the ducks and planning our future. Could she really be deceiving me? The pressure kept building. May started giving me ultimatums, saying if I didn't pay the bride price, she'd have to move back to China and I'd never see her or the baby again. She'd cry, saying her parents were threatening to cut her off and that I was abandoning her by not agreeing. I felt awful, but also cornered. I tried talking to her about compromising, maybe offering a smaller amount or negotiating with her parents, but she wouldn't budge. She said it had to be 88,000 euros or nothing. I started losing sleep, my anxiety spiking as I imagined losing her, but also losing everything I'd worked for. I'd always been careful with money, a trait I inherited from my parents, who taught me to save and live within my means. This demand felt like it went against everything I valued. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I told May I wouldn't pay the bride price, that we needed to figure out another way to handle her family. She broke down, saying I was ruining her life, that her parents would never forgive her. She said she'd have to move back to China if I didn't pay, and I'd never see her or the baby again. That felt like a threat, and it pushed me over the edge. I started to think this might be fraud, or at least some kind of extortion. In the Netherlands, we take financial crime seriously, and I'd heard of cases where people were prosecuted for similar schemes. I decided to report her to the police, hoping they could help me figure out what was going on. Reporting her wasn't easy. I went to the local police station in Rotterdam, my hands shaking as I explained the situation. The officer, a middle-aged woman with a calm demeanor, was sympathetic but said they'd need to investigate. They took my statement and I gave them all the details, including our text messages where May demanded the money. I felt guilty, but I also felt like I had no choice. I couldn't risk losing everything I'd worked for, and I needed to know the truth. After that, I panicked. I was scared of how May would react if she found out, so I packed a bag and left our apartment. I've been staying with my friend Peter in Utrecht, about an hour away, trying to lay low while the police do their thing. His apartment is small, but he's been a lifesaver, letting me crash on his couch and keeping my spirits up with bad jokes and video games. A few days later, I got a call from the police. They'd arrested me, saying they found evidence of potential fraud. Apparently, she'd been in contact with someone in China, possibly her parents or a friend, discussing how to get the money from me. The police wouldn't give me all the details, but they said there were inconsistencies in her story and they were looking into whether the pregnancy was real. I felt a mix of relief and guilt. On one hand, I might have been right to suspect her. On the other, I just turned the mother of my maybe child into a criminal case. I haven't spoken to May since, and I don't know if I ever will. I've been avoiding our apartment, scared she might show up, and I've even turned off my phone's location settings to stay hidden. Now I'm hiding out, trying to figure out my next steps. Pieter has been great, but I can't stay here forever. I've been reading online and people have strong opinions about this. Some say bride prices are a cultural tradition I should respect, while others call it outdated and exploitative. On Reddit, I saw posts joking about how a Dutch guy like me, stereotyped as frugal, would never pay that much for anything. It's not funny to me though. I loved May, and I wanted to build a life with her. Now I'm questioning everything, our relationship, her intentions, even my own actions. I keep replaying our last fight in my head, her tears, her accusations, and I wonder if I could have handled it differently. My parents have been supportive, but they're also worried. We had a long video call last week and my mum cried, saying she hated seeing me go through this. My dad, ever the practical one, said I should focus on protecting my finances and mental health, maybe even move to a new city for a fresh start. My sister, Lisa, thinks I should try to get closure by talking to May, but I'm not ready. I'm still too angry, too hurt. My friends are divided. Some, like Peter, think I did the right thing, while others say I should have handled it privately, not gone to the police. One friend, a co-worker named Sophie, even suggested I might have been too harsh, that maybe May was just desperate because of her family's pressure. That made me feel even worse. I keep wondering if I overreacted. Maybe I should have tried harder to understand her culture, or maybe I should have paid the money and trusted her. But 88,000 euros is a huge amount, and the way she pressured me felt wrong. I'm also worried about the baby. If she's really pregnant and it's mine, what happens now? Will she be deported? Will I ever get to see my child? I don't even know if I want to, given everything that's happened. I've been having nightmares, dreaming about a little kid calling me Papa, only to wake up in a cold sweat, realizing it might never happen. I feel like I've lost everything. My girlfriend, my future family, my sense of security. Reddit, I'm lost. Should I reach out to May, try to get her side of the story, or let the police handle it? Part of me still loves her, but I can't trust her anymore. I've been trying to distract myself, taking long walks along the canals in Utrecht, but every time I see a family with a baby, my heart breaks all over again. I even thought about visiting a therapist, but I'm not sure I'm ready to talk about this out loud. How do I move forward from this? Has anyone else dealt with a cultural clash like this in a relationship? I could really use some advice. Update 1. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. I wasn't expecting so much feedback and it's helped me see things from different angles. A lot of you said I did the right thing by reporting May, and that's made me feel a bit better. I got an update from the police yesterday. They confirmed May isn't pregnant, which breaks my heart, but also makes me feel vindicated. They found messages on her phone where she admitted to her friend that she'd lied about the pregnancy to pressure me into paying. They're still investigating the fraud angle, but it looks like she might face charges, possibly even deportation. I'm trying to focus on rebuilding my life, but I'm still struggling with the betrayal. I've decided to move out of our apartment for good. I went back with Peter to pack my things, and it was harder than I expected. I found a photo of us at the Zandvoort windmills, smiling in the sun, and I broke down. I threw it away, but the memories are harder to erase. I'm looking for a new place in Rotterdam, maybe closer to my office, to start fresh. I've also started seeing a therapist, which has been tough but helpful. She's helping me process the grief and betrayal, and I'm slowly learning to trust myself again. I'll update again if there's more to share, but for now, I'm taking it one day at a time.
This story's a mess, but I'm on her side, y'all. Bride prices are a tradition, and 88,000 euros isn't even that much if you're serious about her. It's a sign of respect, not a scam. Faking a pregnancy is wrong, but maybe she felt desperate because you weren't committed. Reporting her to the cops was a coward's move. You should have talked to her family or negotiated. I'd have paid it and proved my love, not run away like you did. You're the one who failed here, not her. Stay strong, but rethink how you handle relationships.
I'm calling BS. 88,000 euros? Sounds like a fake story to me.
I'm devastated for you both. She shouldn't have lied about a baby. That's awful, but 88,000 euros might be tied to her family's traditions, and she could have felt trapped. Reporting her was harsh. I'd have suggested couples therapy first. I'd be heartbroken if this happened to me.
I'm obsessed with her hustle. 88,000 euros? She's got guts. Respect her grind.
I am Chinese and this guy is clueless. Bride prices aren't scams. They're respect. He's the jerk for snitching to the cops instead of manning up and talking to her family.
I'm so sorry you went through this mess. 88,000 euros is wild, and then lying about a baby is just cruel. You did the right thing reporting her. Take your time healing.
You overreacted, bro. Cultural stuff can be tricky. Should have tried understanding her side first.
I'm Chinese, and I'm pissed at this guy. Bride prices are about honor, not greed. 88,000 euros is high, but it's not a scam. She probably felt pressured by her family to secure her future, and you didn't even try to understand. Faking a pregnancy is a mistake, but reporting her was cruel. I'd have sat down with her family to work it out. You both failed at communication, but you're the one who escalated it. Take some responsibility, man.
I'm not buying the story. 88,000 euros for a bride price? That's absurd. Either she's a pro scammer, or you're exaggerating. I'd have dug deeper before involving the cops. Something's off here.
Bruh, you're the real scam. Bet you made this up for clout. Lame story, dude.
I'm Chinese, and that price tag sounds off. Bride prices are usually symbolic, not bank-breaking. She was wrong to lie, but I wonder if her family's expectations drove her to it. Reporting her was a bit much. Maybe a cultural expert could help. Take care, man.
And I paid the 88,000 euros you just to see if she'd stick around. Faking a baby is wild, but you calling the cops is wilder. Grow a spine.
I can't believe she lied about a baby. You did right by reporting her.
Bride prices are awesome. She's worth every penny of that 88,000 euros. You're the one who failed her by not stepping up. Faking a pregnancy is messy, but maybe she felt you weren't serious. Cops were overkill, bro.
I get why you reported her, but 88,000 euros might be normal in her culture. Faking a pregnancy is wrong, but maybe she felt trapped by family. Try talking next time.
I've been in cross-sexual relationships and they're tough. That price tag is insane, and faking a pregnancy is a betrayal. I'd have reported her too, but I can't help thinking you both failed at communication. A neutral third party might have saved you both some pain. Hope you're okay.
Forget the bride price. Why'd she pick you? You sound broken boring. Faking a pregnancy was her way out. I'd have dumped you too, not scammed you. You're the problem here.
This ain't about culture. It's about control. She wanted to trap you and you fell for it. Reporting her was smart, but hiding like a coward, that's on you.
I'm Chinese, and this hits close to home. Bride prices are a tradition to show commitment, but 88,000 euros is way too high. Most families ask for a symbolic amount. May was wrong to lie about the pregnancy. That's a betrayal. But I wonder if her family's pressure to save face made her desperate. Reporting her was extreme. I'd have suggested a family meeting or counselor to understand her perspective. I'd be heartbroken if my partner did this. Wishing you healing.
This hits me hard. I can't imagine the pain of finding out she lied about a baby. That's devastating. But I wonder if you're leaving out part of the story. 88,000 euros is a lot, but maybe her family's expectations pushed her to act this way. Reporting her to the police feels extreme. I'd have suggested a counselor to understand her perspective. I'd be heartbroken if my partner did this, but I'd also want to know why. Wishing you healing, but reflect on your role too.
You can't believe she faked a pregnancy. That's awful. But 88,000 euros might be normal in her culture. I'd have tried talking before going to the police. You both needed better communication.